There's a market for everything, if you're desperate enough.
We're going to start this video off with a history lesson. In all of human history, there's been no empire greater than the Roman Empire. Spanning for over 1500 years if you count the Byzantines, this civilization formed the basis of what the world would be up until now. The ruins still dot the landscape to this day, and from language to government to currencies, you can still find a bit of Rome almost anywhere you look. One thing they were very well known for was their buildings. From legionary forts to great cities of antiquity, Roman cities are still in use nowadays, from Rome itself all the way to London. And in the game Anno 117 Pax Romana by Ubisoft mains, who have so kindly sponsored this video and given me early access to the game to make something special, you yourself can build your very own city of this great empire. The world of endless Roman engineering is open to you to create the city of your dreams, or in my case, a city more closely resembling a drunken tavern goer's nightmares. So join me today as I begin my attempt to make a city that will last a lifetime and well beyond, or at least something that won't catch fire prior to the fall of Rome.
My name is PancreasNoWork, and I'm an imposter.
We start by picking this young strapping lad to be our character, a noble with experience in Egyptus who according to himself has already helped build a city. Seems he knows what he's doing, which is good because I haven't the slightest idea myself. With this slightly too enthusiastic gentleman that I quickly find is none other than the emperor himself blessing the land, we're ready to build the fine settlement of Juliana for Rome's subjects to live in. Setting up a woodcutter and a sawmill in a way that would probably make a city planner cry, I then start throwing down houses in what seems to me to be an almost reasonable place. I set down some porridge stands, remember 5 minutes later that food needs to be made from crops first before it's food, and various other miscellaneous buildings from warehouses to fishing docks so we don't starve before the first day is even ended. A fine gentleman walks by and we bought some pre-cut lumber from him for a modest sum, and while the option to steal his stuff was present, I figured it'd be nice for once to be nice and pay him for his supplies instead. The emperor, in honor of my ability to not immediately kill everyone I'm entrusted with, invites me for a feast with him and the Empress, and I have to say, Lucius has made a phenomenal impression on me from the get-go.
More wine, Governor? But you had best not be giving him any notions. Slaves need a firm hand.
A leader who understands the value of oppressing your fellow man and offers me booze? Well, if this isn't the best hospitality I've ever received. He even gives us a boat to sail around with as our very own. Does his generosity know no bounds? After this lovely chat with the emperor and empress-to-be, we sail back home and get back to business. More houses are constructed as well as markets to go with them. I finally get around to placing cloth production so people can wear real clothes instead of the finest of rags they find in the gutter, and most importantly of all, the taverns are now open. There are few better ways to keep your population happy than a good drink, which is why I build 3 of them. Of course, things could still be much better, by which I mean I'm hemorrhaging money. To fix this, more housing for more people and therefore more taxation is needed, so I begin constructing what will end up being the main settlement area of this part of the city. Various ideas for well-integrated streets, amenities, and housing locations flood through my mind, after I've already made this rat's nest of housing, markets, and taverns. But with all this work done, we can finally access the next level of residence. Plebeians. No mere freed slaves, plebeians are true and proper Roman citizens, performing more specialized work to allow us to further upgrade our city. Just in time too, because the Empress would like to take a trip down memory lane and I need to build a villa. In no particular order, because I'm building things in a near random order, we begin growing wheat fields for the plebeians, harvesting clay in order to make some good old-fashioned Roman tiles, clear some ruins, and finally end up building that villa to lord over our lessers from. More low-tier production buildings are created to meet the needs of the commoners, and for this Herculean effort that is presumably carried out by people of lower social standing than myself, we have finally achieved just barely positive income. A marvelous day that will allow us to expand our city even further. Garum production begins, and I can finally reach the next section of coast for us to increase production of higher tier materials even further. A barracks is made to facilitate the production of some proper armed forces, and because I'm frothing at the mouth daring anyone to attack me, I select Mars as the patron god of my rapidly growing city. I sincerely wish a barbarian would try me. I also cannot state how much I appreciate all the resources and warehouses being shared with all the other warehouses. If I was staring at some dude waddling around with a cart because one warehouse had to ship to another first, I might go mad. But no, everything is connected to the warehouse network, and Rome is far better off for that miraculous invention. Think Minerva or Vulcan for that one. That sounds like something from their departments. Things all in all were looking up, and I was excited to see how I could improve the city further, whereupon Lucius decided my balls had remained unkicked for long enough and made a request of me. $5,000 for the Empress's birthday in addition to everything else I'm already doing for it. I did not presently have $5,000, and legally this is only a request, but as the game helpfully points out, this is the Emperor. I do not fancy telling the Emperor of Rome to get bent. That's an excellent way to earn yourself a one-way ticket to a cross, so I pay him and go over $1,500 into debt. Luckily enough money is being made with my rapid deployment of low-income housing that this shouldn't be an issue this time, but I'll have to keep in mind the next time the Emperor of Rome and its unlimited sources of wealth decides he needs me to loan him a tenner. With the economy, in spite of that small donation, almost approaching a healthy state if you squint hard enough, we must progress further towards becoming an actual respectable city. While progress is interrupted somewhat by who I will remind you once again is the Emperor of Rome requesting me to bring him fruit and roof shingles, I expand the residential areas further, and this time attempt to make the slightest of efforts to plan ahead instead of plopping down houses and praying it works out. And as much as it doesn't bode well for the Empire, it does fill me with no small amount of pride to know that the Emperor himself is relying on me to get things ready for his wife's birthday. If there's one thing the Romans knew how to do other than build bridges and start civil wars, it was how to throw a party, so knowing I'm the Big E's go-to guy for helping out on that front is an honor, if a slightly inconvenient one. Plus, I suppose there's worse things in the world than to be in the good graces of the guy who controls said world. I've also finally put in some work to have actual military forces. In as early a part of the game as this, I don't think there'll be any major military matters that crop up, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. The man who sleeps with a gladius under his pillow is a fool every night but one, after all. But in much more pleasing news, two identical twins have come to speak to me. One of them seems to be a strapping young lad capable of doing the work of 10 men all by himself. Promising, but his twin brother is a landlord, and the idea of milking my citizenry for every last denarii they have is far too pleasing of one to pass up on, so he comes with me to join my crew. While city stuff is going on, I also do a favor for the Empress Julia, going to grab her daughter so she could attend her birthday party as well. Sailing up to the ship, I'm sure this will be a nice and simple conversation.
Mercy! Forgive us, Dominus!
Tell us the iron, if you would.
Well, that is a bit awkward. Young Diana, as it turns out, is a bit of a freedom fighter, and was trying to help some slaves escape from the clutches of a rather unsightly gentleman, a slave driver working with her father. Accusing me of being set up as a nice little puppet by your emperor father, which admittedly probably yeah, she initially refuses to return to her mother and is rather dead set on getting me to help oppose this slaver. I convince her to return to her mother for at least the party, and the whole time Marcus spends every conversation bit talking like I do when I don't want to keep a fight going, but I don't know the right thing to say to the person to make them stop yelling either.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. You know, maybe sometimes it takes a terrible parent to produce the enlightened child.
Do you have any idea how that sounds?
You keep digging that hole, champ. You'll figure it out sooner or later. As for her wanting to free the slaves she feels has been put in chains unlawfully, girl, you are barking up the wrong tree so badly you're in a different forest entirely. The only reason those slaves aren't in a gladiatorial arena already is because I haven't built one yet. But that's a problem for later. In the meantime, hopefully she and her parents will have a nice and touching family reunion.
Go on. Tell all the people here.
She is no child of mine.
Ah yes, your average Thanksgiving dinner. Although I have to confess that I don't think any of my family members have had a heart attack in the middle of cutting the turkey. Rest in peace, Emperor Lucius. You may be gone, but you'll live forever in my heart as I keep what you said about beating slaves near and dear to it. Empress Julia understandably wants some time to grieve, which fair enough. If I reunited with my estranged daughter only for my wife to die about 30 seconds later, I'd probably need a bit of time to recuperate as well. The only way to help her properly grieve is apparently to set up more housing districts in her city. Not how I personally would get over the loss of a loved one, but hey, to each their own. I'm certainly not going to complain, because the higher my income, the higher my happiness. With the Emperor now dead, some more effort is also put into constructing iron mines and weapons creation. In Roman history, the death of an emperor doesn't typically mean a peaceful transition of power. Usually just means a whole lot of other Romans are about to join him in the afterlife. So in the name of paranoia, which I strongly hold isn't actually paranoia, because I'm sure they actually are out to get me, I finally get around to building some walls around my villa and recruiting a unit of archers to go with my auxilia. While I am learning that making the streets a bit whiter might be a good idea for moments in the future where the military needs to rapidly move locations, I now have actual military units, so I feel about 10 times as better. The city expands further, more and more people join, and in spite of the fact my political situation is almost certainly about to get as turbulent as a hurricane, I feel at least some measure of pride over my work here. Juliana has become not perhaps the grandest city in Rome, but it's just nice. It's the kind of place you and your family could get away to for a week or two after another riot over the home chariot team losing burns down half of Constantinople. Eventually we talk to Julia once again, and while still quite distraught, she at least seems to be handling the death of her husband about as well as anyone can handle that kind of thing. She even seems to not hold it against Diana. Good for them. Even in death, however, good old Lucian seems to require one last task of the Emperor's chief whipping boy: handling his cremation. All we have to do is carry his body towards the ruined amphitheater nearby, as well as spruce up the town with some decorations, something I probably should have been doing anyways, but I'd neglected in favor of more porridge production. With the Emperor now passed on to the afterlife properly, we get confirmation that Rome, sure enough, has had one of its classic political moments in his absence. You see, Lucian had been determined to make Julia his successor, a true Empress of Rome, but as you can see from the fleet on the horizon rapidly approaching a little island, that didn't quite sit well with most everyone else. This fine specimen of Roman culture has seen fit to ransack almost all of the former emperor's belongings, lock Julia in house arrest in her temple, and to top it all off has decided to send us all the way to Albion on reassignment. In theory, it's to test our mettle and see if we can't make something of ourselves. In practice, he's hoping we'll fail and he'll have an excuse to make us some arena or other's bloody entertainment. Worst of all, the bastard isn't even letting us take our boat. We have to build a new one. That's just rude. Genuinely, this is the perfect way to make someone hateable. Overthrow the ruler? That's just Roman tradition. Stealing my stuff? Now you've gone too far, buddy. Vowing to remember that grievous insult if nothing else, we nonetheless have no choice but to do as he says. Reluctantly, I place down a shipyard, something that in better times would open my city up to the outside world, but in this case is doing nothing but signing the warrant of my own exile. Constructing a humble and, if I may be rather pessimistic, crappy little vessel to serve as our transport, we surrender our former ship to the new head of state around here and prepare to take off. And because when it rains it pours, my city is now on fire. Slamming down a few more fire watches, it only occurs to me immediately after the fires are tamed that I probably should have let this new asshole handle it, but I suppose I can live with the fact I kept a couple of no-name citizens from burning to death instead of slightly inconveniencing the new guy. For reasons that are far beyond me, he also wants me to grab an elephant. I guess this is supposed to be a white elephant sort of deal? Regardless, I've spent a few last moments admiring the work I've done in the meantime. We've seen the city grow from a single port to plop down some shacks nearby into a fairly bustling small city that's only threatened to burn down a single time. Our exile, I vow, will only be the next stepping stone on our journey to greatness, and no amount of angry Celts or treasonous Roman politicians will see us brought low. Stocking up on a few choice building materials before we head off, it's time for us to set sail. The rude man kicking us out keeps getting more and more belligerent, so I think it's high time we leave before he starts making a cross with our name on it. We say goodbye to Julia, who promises us if things go well we can return one day for all our works to be ours once again. A fine idea, however...
I'm losing patience now, Gratius.
There may be a few complications with that plan. And so it is, we sail forth, heading for the isles at the edge of the world with our slave and elephant in tow, who lacking any other name, I've decided to call Hannibal. It's an ironic thing, you see. The islands of Albion will be fraught with danger and peril, no doubt. Far away from the safety of Rome's heartland and supply chains, we'll have only ourselves and whatever garrison already exists here to prove we have what it takes to stay in power. But for now, my tale of Anno 117 comes to an end. Though Marcus still has plenty to do, and I still have plenty of barbarians to remind who controls the ancient world, those are all things I think are best left for you to find out all about on your own. Anno 117 Pax Romana comes out on PC through Steam, Ubisoft Connect, and Epic Games, as well as Xbox Series and PS5 on November 13th, 2025. If you've any interest in either city-building games or games set during the time of ancient Rome, this game delivers amazingly on both accounts, so make sure to grab it early. Thank you to Ubisoft Mains for sponsoring this video, and of course, thank you as always to my wonderful channel members. You are the Roman concrete to my Roman roads, helping me build something that will stand the test of time and beyond. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching, and take care out there. It's just like they say, all roads lead to Rome, except for this one right here. I think I was a little overzealous with the planning ahead on this one right there. 10 million slaves will die in the arenas to make up for this.